This podcast is sponsored by Next Insurance. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cleaning Business Mentor Podcast. I'm your host, Carolyn Arellano, and on today's episode, I have a very special guest that some of you may already know from YouTube, Mr. Matt Stowe. Matt Stowe is the COO of OctoClean, a commercial cleaning franchise founded by his family that he now runs alongside his brother Greg. He also owns OctoGreen Landscaping and Stokt Services, specializing in floor, carpet, and window care. On top of that, he co-owns OctoClean Media, a training platform with a YouTube channel, podcast, and membership for commercial cleaners. Matt brings a wealth of experience in the business growth, leadership, and scaling across industries. Welcome to the show, Matt, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to do this podcast with me.
Yeah, thank you. I'm honored to be here. We've been fans and followers for some time, and it's good to finally start collaborating.
Thank you so much. I want to say I'm a huge fan of your channel as well. You guys make sure you go give him a subscription. All of Matt's links will be in the description of this videos. But I will say that across YouTube, we do come across each other's channels, and the level of professionalism that you guys have going is what we all strive to be. So it's an honor to have you on the show and be able to, learn more about your story and how all of the OctoClean, I don't want to call it OctoClean empire, right? How did that come to be? A little bit about yourself, right? And we would love to hear about your story.
So I learned a lot, of course, about how you got started. And really, I think that most people could relate to the way that companies like these get started. And I certainly think we have some common storylines. We started this business in the early 90s, prior to the commercial side of cleaning. My mom and my grandmother had a house cleaning business in the late 80s. My dad was cleaning windows. He was also a restaurateur, so owned restaurants since he was 18 years old, but got into the window cleaning business kind of by necessity because he didn't like working for other people and decided to quit his job. And I show up one day from school, and I was probably in 5th grade, and he's on the roof of the house cleaning windows. And I'm like, what's going on? He's like, well, we're starting a window cleaning business. And that's pretty much the story of my life, working with my dad. I don't know if I would call him, he's a serial entrepreneur / rebel. And so that was my upbringing, was being in that type of constant chaos that, my dad created in business. But when we got into the commercial side of things, that happened again because of necessity. We were faced with something out here in California called El Nino in the mid 90s. We've had a couple of those weather systems since, of course, so people should be familiar. But the window cleaning business completely, was rained out. I mean, literally. And we were, living on food stamps for the first time in our family's life. Christmas, it was a tree that was in a little tree that was in a pot that was, wrapped in Christmas lights. I mean, it was rough. Friends of ours at church came to my dad and said, I understand you clean buildings. And he's like, yes, we do. Had never cleaned a building in our lives. And when we got into the first night of cleaning, Greg and I, who were still in high school at the time, didn't know how to mop a floor. We didn't know how to, clean a toilet other than what our mom forced us to do so that we could go outside and play. So we had no real experience. And back then there was nothing called YouTube or Google or anything that could help us. I mean, we were going to libraries and, Barnes and Noble to pick up books on how to clean buildings. I mean, that's how, we got things going. When we started to get into the business, Greg went away to the military and served in the Navy and the Army. I would come and help on the weekends, but when I was in high school, I was selling new contracts during summer break, spring breaks. I mean, I was a baby. I didn't know anything about anything, reading every sales book I could get my hands on. And it was a fun experience. I got thrown out of a lot of places, had the police called on me a couple times.
Get out of here. Was it because of your age or?
No, because of trespassing. I mean, it was, because, look, I was relentless. I mean, I was asked by property managers to leave an area. This is a true story. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. You can't tell me I can't go talk to tenants, so yeah, but that's what it takes. And these are the conversations that we have, with, a lot of our members on our platform. We talk to our franchisees and say, like, it's those moments that matter. Are you going to get the police called on you, or are you going to leave and go somewhere else? And funny story about that is that same property manager is actually a customer today. So it's crazy. Shout out to Linda. But
Yeah. I'm glad that relationship, improved.
to be completely honest, I don't think she knows. I don't think she's put two and two together. And I'm not going to bring it up because I don't want her to call the police again. But yeah, when we were doing that part of it, the commercial side, that was employee run, all the things. And we started franchising in 2000. And that was not an easy decision to make. We did that because we wanted to scale, but we were also, struggling with the way that other franchisors were operating in the market. Anybody who's listening to this should understand what I'm saying without me having to say it. It's a highly, unregulated, poorly run industry, the franchising side of what we do. So what we have always strived to be is the Chick-fil-A of janitorial franchising. And, how we go about that, understanding that there are things that we need to be involved in that some franchisees don't like, but that's what it takes to be great. That's what it takes to, truly support our franchise owners.
I love that about being the Chick-fil-A, of cleaning franchises because, as you said, when people think franchise, they have like already this bad taste in their mouths, either from an experience or somebody else. But it's good to know that there are franchise owners who are now trying to turn that whole thing around because, as you mentioned, I think with the right leadership and the right systems in place, like it can be done and be profitable and still be able to deliver, that quality work. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah. We could get into a whole conversation on that and we won't, but yeah, there's definitely, there's an easy way to do this as a franchisor. And then there's the way that we do it. This is not easy. My wife this morning, I'm sitting on the couch having my cup of coffee and she's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, I've got 1,000 race cars running in my head out of control. That's what it feels like every single day, right? There's a lot going on. There's a lot to make it right. And it's not easy to own that, being the Chick-fil-A of janitorial franchising. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. But as we went through, and I'm not going to get too deep into the 2000s and on, so the last 25 years, but being a franchisor, we've signed a lot of people. We've partnered with a lot of franchisees, and we now expanded it out to Arizona. And we have plans to expand into 5 more states in the next 5 years. So that's going to be fun. But on the YouTube side of things, interestingly enough, the only reason we started getting on YouTube is because of COVID. We were, sitting back, being, competent in what it was going to take to protect people in buildings, knowing that there was a lot of fear and a lot of unknowns going on in 2020. And we were, Greg and I were some of the first people in our area to be in COVID positive rooms doing disinfection. We were terrified, but we had to show that it was okay. And come home every night after working with crews, strip down, to your underwear outside the house, come in completely, to get in the shower right away. I mean, we were doing everything we could.
Right.
And people started saying to us, they're like, "You guys obviously know what you're doing with this." And Andrea came to me and said, "Hey, we should start filming this and putting it up on YouTube." And that's where it started. Yeah. And the production of what we've done is obviously evolved over time. And similar to you, what we want to do is be able to help people who don't have a knowledge, don't feel like they have access to the information that they need and deserve. Because to me, it's not about the trade secrets. There's a lot of information out there. It's about execution. So if you've got all the data in the world and you don't actually do anything with it, it doesn't make any difference at all. So, what we strive to be, and I believe you are as well, is to get people to be in action, to get stuff done. We'll give you the data, but go do something. So that's the story in a nutshell. But we do have a documentary that we made about 3 years ago that we'll send you a link so you can take a look at it. But it goes into more detail about how the company started and the family and all of that. So
yeah, I would love to check that out. And I would, I'll also be sharing that in the description of this video so that if anybody wants to learn more in depth on Matt and Greg's story, you guys are welcome to go check that video out. I mean, your story is great. I love it. You started with your dad, entrepreneur, I believe you called him, it wasn't a risk taker, a rebel.
Yeah, he's a rebel.
Um,
Yeah.
a rebel, that's pretty cool. My dad also entrepreneur, somewhat of a rebel. So it's interesting, to hear that you also had somebody to look toward that was in business and also maybe wasn't doing it right or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, well, look, you obviously understand that, and that's something that I've talked to my team that I have a journal that I've been writing in for years called Lessons from Dad, and I have a couple blogs that are floating around that probably nobody will ever find. But my intention is to put that into an actually published book at some point, because all of those lessons in the car sitting next to him as we're going from building to building, the way that he handled conflict, the way he dealt with people, a lot of the lessons are what you learn not to do, not always what are the things you should do. And as a youngest child, I had that opportunity to see a lot of the things that you shouldn't do. And so I would say in business, it's been a journey. I'm blessed to have my dad, still able to sit around and talk crap about what he thinks should be done and how we disagree. And it's a great banter.
No, absolutely. It's a huge blessing, to have your dad and be able to learn a lot from him. And I think you should absolutely do that book. I know a lot of us would love to, make a purchase and read all of the lessons that you've learned from him. Because mentorship and actually, learn, like you said, learning what not to do, a lot of the times will save people a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of hardship.
Yeah.
And something else that you had mentioned about starting the YouTube channel during COVID is super interesting. So shout out to Andrea for that idea because, it has been a huge help, a lot of your videos online. And when starting a YouTube channel, I'm sure like, you don't really think anything much of it, right? You don't think anything is really going to happen. You're like, why are we doing this? Like, what is this YouTube platform?
Yep.
But believe it or not, I mean, like you guys know, your channel is growing, every single day, and it's an awesome channel. It really does help a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like you said, a lot of it is explaining things in a way that they can understand, and then of course them executing it. But with a lot of the information on the internet, all of the different content creators, being able to really like break things down for people is really important. And I think that is something that your channel, similar to mine, is
Yeah.
that it's not like overcomplicated, right? And like you said when you earlier, it was like trade secrets, right? That's something that the both of us, there are no trade secrets. Like whatever
No.
we know, we try to share. And I think that a lot of people don't do that in this industry. And I think that's why both of our channels have seen like the success that it has in the short amount of time is because we're willing to help people as much as we possibly can without leaving some huge key piece of information out just to have them come back. This podcast is sponsored by Next Insurance, the easy way to get affordable coverage for your cleaning business. Protect yourself, protect your team, and get peace of mind. For a free quote, click the link in the description of this episode.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's not. I've always said, and it's not always been to my benefit, but it has been more than not. Is give away everything to everybody that you can, and that's what we have to do. That's how we show generosity to our industry. And for us, I'm clear that we're not going to be able to transform the janitorial industry fast enough under the Octo empire, that we have to give this information away to every single small business that's out there in the US and abroad, so that they're able to say, like, I can make a difference in my city, my county, my state. And I want them to attribute that to their own hard work, not from just us being able to have this YouTube channel, you having your YouTube channel and giving the information, because it is truly they putting one foot in front of the other, getting stuff done and using the information we're giving them. And so that's the blessing. I will say, when you mentioned about the YouTube channel, like, we don't know what we don't know. I can't tell you how many times I sat in a room with Andrea and I'm like, this is a complete waste of time. I'm looking at the numbers and she's like, no, we need to be thought leaders. This is what we need. I'm like, we're running a multi-state, multi-million-dollar business. I don't have time for this.
Right.
And she's like, no, you guys have good information. You need to share this. And Here's when I knew that we were making an impact. We went to the ISSA show last year. And, we've been every single year other than COVID. We've been there every year since like probably 1998. So a long, long time. And we've gone to Chicago and Texas and all the different places. I'm walking onto the show floor with my wife, and some random guy just comes out of nowhere and he's like, hey, I came here because I knew you were going to be here. I'm going to age myself, but I swear to God, I looked at my wife and I'm like, I'm totally being punked right now. And she's like, I don't know. And I'm like looking around for Andrea, like she's messing with me. I mean, as we got on the floor, Greg and I together, like, I don't think I saw more than 15 booths on the show floor, because people were just coming up like, hey, we wanted to talk to you. And, can we get a picture?
It's
And I'm like,
unreal, isn't it?
it's a trip, and I'm like, okay. I call my 14-year-old son. I'm like, I think we're janitor famous. And,
I love that phrase.
and he's like, what do you mean, Dad? And so, yeah, the YouTube thing has been an interesting experience for sure. And I'm excited to see where this journey takes all of us in this industry, because, you are creating the market for this, right? Like, we as a group are creating something that's never existed on YouTube before. It's not an industry that yeah. So if we're the ones that, are going to start it up, we need to do this right. We have to be good stewards to the industry. So I'm excited about that. And I know that you're doing the same, and it's fantastic.
Oh yeah, I'm super excited. For those of you watching and listening, Matt, Greg, and myself, we're going to be doing some collaborations on videos on both of our channels. So I'm really excited to be working with them. As many of you know, my niche is more into the residential house cleaning. Although we do commercial work, it's not on a scale, like Matt and Greg. So I myself, have watched your guys' channel when it comes to bidding and stuff like that. So it is super interesting to even be having this conversation with you, actually. And this is actually the first time that we've got to talk on video. But yeah, your guys' channel is great. If you guys haven't already checked out their videos, I'm sure many of you have, but if you haven't, you definitely need to, search OctoClean Media or click the link in the description of this video. They have an amazing online community with a ton of resources for, the growing cleaning business owner. And I will say, I've done my own research. I'm constantly doing research, just like I'm sure you guys are, seeing, who's putting out what and what's going on and who's scamming who and, all those things. But I can tell you guys that legitimately their channel is amazing. Their community is amazing. The level of professionalism that they put into their work is definitely something that I look up to. And you guys really do aspire us other creators on this channel. So please, check them out. But I do want to talk a little bit more about the OctoClean empire. So I know there's a lot of moving parts to that. So we have the janitorial business itself, we have the franchising, we have OctoClean Media, right? Which we would also love to hear a little bit more about. But I know there's also, we had mentioned earlier in this, there's a landscaping that you guys do. You guys do floor care. So it's not just janitorial, it's full service building management, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it's full spectrum. I mean, we've had, our logo is an octopus. And, back in the day when my grandma drew that in the late 80s, the goal was that we would be doing a service for all 8 tentacles, right? And so from catering to security to cleaning buildings, cleaning houses, I mean, all kinds of things. And so that's always been part of the culture is, what's the next thing that we're going to be able to do to support it? I mean, to be on a business side of things, from my, creation of things with the team, it has more to do with us as a company to be sticky, to create the type of relationship with clients where we're hard to leave. And so looking at OctoClean as a cleaning company, cleaning medical facilities and commercial buildings and industrial and everything in between, that's commercial. We do no residential. The complement of Stokt services with floor care, carpet care, windows, pressure washing, parking lot sweeping. I mean, pretty much anything you can think of that is interior, exterior trade work is what we like to call it. We perform that because, and through a separate company, through separate management, because it is a very distinct, piece of work. It's not, a janitor should not be doing floor care. A floor care technician should be doing floor care. And so that company is growing quickly. We have plans that by 2026, that will become a franchising system where we're selling territories in large areas of states. So they're not going to be units or smaller. The OctoClean Media side, really, I mean, I was told at a young age when I was involved in the church that, you're called to leadership. That's your job. And OctoClean Media was born from people saying, why can't I get this training? Why can't I be part of a community? Why can't I do that? And we listened. And so OctoClean Media was created because of listeners and viewers that are watching this. People who are like, I need this. How can I help? How can you help me? And so I'm excited about that part of it, but it's, I look at it like that's going to be, something I get to do in retirement. I'm not there anytime real soon, but that I can be anywhere in the world and I can jump on a consulting call and talk to somebody. But in the meantime, we're going to help a lot of people on how to run their businesses, start their businesses, take on their first employee. And that's what our platform does. It gives people the tools they need to be able to start a business, grow their business, and get through the issues that a lot of people are not good at. You mentioned before we got on that, a lot of the support you got when you started was people helping you in the business side of things.
Correct.
And I think that's the problem in this industry and a lot of low cost, easy entry type of industries is that people are good at cleaning, but they suck at business. And so what we're doing is giving them, even if they don't know they need it yet, the tools they need to be able to run a business and grow a business from first employee to 100th employee and all of the issues you deal with in between. And of course, employees mean more accounts mean implementation, mean process. So all of that is what we look at in how do we help you scale? Yeah, we're going to teach you how to clean a toilet too. But the reality is that if you can't run your business, you can clean all day and you're going to be a slave to your company. We want you to become business owners where your business is working for you. And that's what OctoClean Media's real vision and mission is to help the small business owner to be able to become something that is working for them. The landscaping side, OctoGreen, again, is just part of that stickiness conversation. I don't want anybody else on my properties unless it's an Octo business. And that allows us to do that. And security, I don't think I'm getting into security or elevator repair or any of these other things, but we're busy enough and I'm a glutton for punishment, but I think we just need to refine everything that we're doing and give the most we can to people in all of our areas, all of our platforms.
Well, I want to say you guys are doing a fantastic job, building the OctoClean empire, everything that you guys are doing with OctoClean Media. And yeah, I'm really excited for the collaborations that we're going to be doing to come on both of our channels. And I'm really excited, to be able to help more people on this platform and really, give back as much information as we can because we don't know everything, right? Everything is, I'm forever learning. I'm always reading or watching YouTube videos or getting advice from other people. So it's going to be a great collaboration that I'm very, very, very much looking forward to.
We are too. We are too.
For sure. For anybody that might just be starting in this industry or maybe has been, started their cleaning business 5, 10, 15 years ago, but they feel stuck or they want to quit, which is very typical to feel in this industry. What would be your best piece of advice for that struggling entrepreneur or somebody that's just getting started in this industry?
It's a great question. I've been told by a lot of people that the hardest industry to their business to run is a restaurant. They're not telling the truth. It's cleaning. Janitorial is a very hard business to be in. And I would be lying if I said that I have never wanted to quit. This is a really, really, really tough thing to do. And a lot of people quit way too early. So my advice to anybody would be listen to the little voice that is telling you that I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I need to quit. Maybe if I had the kind of experience that Carolyn and Matt had, if I had the drive, none of that stuff is actually true, right? The truth is that I just work a little bit harder than everybody else does on a day-to-day basis, right? I get up earlier, I put in the hours, I do stuff in the darkness so that I can shine in the light. That's the reality is that you've got to bust your ass when no one's looking. And what motivates me is the people that I get to work with. I know what I had to deal with when I was cleaning buildings, the kind of ridicule that I would be given by clients, the way that people were treated in our industry because of their education or their race, whatever it may be. And I've always stood by that we will stand for the people in our industry and for the professionalism that we project and that we are at, and we'll protect that at any cost. I will not tolerate people treating people poorly. Dignity and respect is required. And so when I get down on myself, I'm like, my job is to stand for others. That's my job. So, I would encourage anybody who's in business to understand the reason why they're doing it and not so much about how much money can I make, because the money will take care of itself. You just got to put one foot in front of the other and do it better than the next guy and work just an hour more than somebody else when no one's looking. That would be my advice, is kick yourself in the ass when nobody is watching and nobody cares.
I love that. That was awesome. Those were amazing closing words to a podcast. I mean, if that wasn't motivating enough for you guys, I'm not quite sure what would be. But we do want to say thank you so much for taking the time to come on today's podcast. We look forward to also having a podcast with Greg. So you guys be sure to keep an eye out for that as well. And as I mentioned, we're going to be having some videos that we're going to be collaborating on. So I'm very excited for the YouTube community. And it's been a pleasure already working with you, Andrea and Greg, and the OctoClean Media team. Where can we find you, Matt? Where are you most active on? We're going to be sure to put all the links down below for OctoClean, but where can you be found if anybody wants to get in touch with you?
Yeah, the easiest way to get a hold of me, I try to be as analog as possible because I only have a certain amount of hours in a day. So you can always find me by emailing me if you have, questions or you want to talk about anything. And so that would be at my email address, matt@octoclean.com. That's 2 T's, MATT. Of course, we're on Instagram, on YouTube under OctoClean Media. And I'm most active either by checking and responding to emails or on OctoClean Media, communicating back and forth with our members. That's really where I spend most of my time. So I would encourage anybody who's really interested to take a look at the media site, see what the membership is. It's not a lot. It's $29 a month. I mean, you're spending more than that at Starbucks in 4 days. And I promise you're going to get a hell of a lot more than a caffeine high out of it. So it's a really cool program or platform. So that's where you can find me. And yeah, this collaboration is going to be great. I'm really excited. I was born in New York. I'm not a New Yorker.
Oh, get out.
But I was born in New York. So it's cool to, get some East Coast, collab going. It'll be fun.
No, for sure. I feel really good about this because like myself, I know that, and you said this many times, everything that you guys do comes from a place of wanting to help people. You mentioned leadership, giving back, not holding back, and just standing up for people. So I'm really excited to be working with you, Greg and Andrea. And again, we want to say thank you so much for joining us on the Cleaning Business Mentor podcast. Be sure, you guys, to follow Matt, go check out the community, do all of the things, and we will see you again very soon. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you for the invite. We're looking forward to working together.
This podcast is sponsored by Next Insurance.